I'm Darren Waller, formerly known as a NFL athlete. Played 8 years in the NFL, but I'm just out here living life. I'm an artist, an uncle, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, a son. I love to be out in nature. I love all things. I'm just loving the human experience.
He's a lover, ladies. I have a question for you. You also, when you say you're an artist, what type of artist are you? What art do you partake in?
I partake in the creation of good music. You could say I'm hip hop because that's kind of what I grew up on, and yeah, I'm proud to be a part of what hip hop is contributing to culture. But I'm influenced by all styles of music, and they all kind of show up in little ways.
Okay, so how would you describe your particular brand of hip hop? If someone said, and they always do comparisons, which you don't necessarily have to do, but as an artist, and when you're creating your music, what is your influence? Who influences you rather?
Who influences me? The two CDs that got the most rotation in my Walkman growing up were Jay-Z Black Album and Kanye West Graduation. So, guys that were, vulnerable to an extent in their raps, talking about what they've gone through, what they've climbed through. Guys like Kanye, what he had to persist through just to get to where he was musically. Those kind of guys, but just a standard of excellence in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when I listen to that music, I'm like, okay, that's the standard. So like when I make something, that's what I'm trying to strive for. I'm not trying to make something to kind of come up or let people know like, oh, he's rapping. I'm like, I want to contribute something to music to where people can walk away and be like, or like think about something differently or change their perspective.
When you rap, what do you rap about mainly?
I'm rapping about my experiences, the struggles I've had, just like me trying to figure out, myself, how to love and accept myself. Because there's times where it's like, I feel great about myself and what I'm doing. I've always been this, performer for people. And that's kind of given me my worth for a while, but realizing the other side of that to where it's like, if I'm not performing or if I'm just trying to be my authentic self and I make mistakes, like, am I still lovable? Like, am I still all these things? So I rap about all those things. And I also grew up in Atlanta and listening to New York hip hop where dudes are on there, trying to get their bars off. So
okay.
I dab in a little bit of that as well.
Bit of that. Okay. So just yesterday, you released an EP. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so the EP is called Internal Warfare, This Too Shall Pass. There's been a few EPs this year where I've combined the name of a couple songs in the project to make the title. So, but with that, it's like I said, there's always been two sides of me. There's this me that's loving, caring, has depth. And there's this other side of me that's through my football journey and just through life and trying to figure out where I fit, just being competitive and aggressive and, just having a point to prove. There's these two sides that often clash within me. But when I'm able to accept those two, kind of like we talked about before, that's where I'm able to find the peace and know that this too shall pass. I don't always have to feel the way that I feel forever. So that's kind of the theme behind it.
When you say there's two sides, I'm curious because I think everyone experiences that, but why can't that just be the whole of you, the sum of who you are?
That's honestly the goal. You hit the nail on the head. Get to the goal just to be there's my therapist always says there's no bad parts.
Correct.
There's parts there. There's nothing bad. They're all just ways in which I'm trying to keep myself safe or ultimately find fulfillment in life. They're these, sometimes coping mechanisms, survival tactics, but really they're just all me and they deserve to be loved and accepted. But for most of my life, it's always I've always been a perfectionist trying to be accepted by people. So it's if it's not fit in the good label, it's shunned until I can, because I don't want people to see me the way that I see myself most of my life. So it's
interesting because labels are when we put a label on anything. I even told you that I was listening to Internal Warfare this morning as I was preparing for this interview, and I assumed that I would not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. I assumed that, which was so unfair, and I don't like labels, but I find myself just conditioned. This is a human condition. Right. We do that with people without even knowing it. And it was, to me, what I was able to hear was someone, reconciling the good and the bad. But really, it was this beautiful alchemy of who you ultimately are. I just was we're all so complicated in so many ways. We don't have to be one thing.
Right.
When you grew up, and this is not even a heavy question, do you feel because I know my therapist will always say, It's because the way you grew up. So how was you?
100%, 1,000%.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming in touch with every area of my life is being traced back to my childhood, and like that early part of your life from like 0 to 8 is where your brain is formed and like how you believe yourself to be in the world. And 0 to 8 for me was like, I don't know where I fit in. I don't feel like I'm welcomed or accepted as I am. I feel like I'm not enough. I feel like I have to change. So it's like I can be a 32-year-old man sometimes and still showing up as that 8-year-old version of myself, because that's real trauma. And that's how I came to find my way in the world, I guess.
Most adults, every adult, you've named every single adult, myself included. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, what are the suburbs? Where?
30 minutes north. Nobody knows where Ackworth, Georgia is. People already know where Kennesaw is now.
Yeah.
But like 30 minutes north of Atlanta. So very nice neighborhood, good public schools. Nothing in the environment that was triggering or harming to my development, nor in the home either. My parents are still married to this day, 38 years. But it was just the social aspect of things where it was like, I feel like a total alien everywhere that I go. I mean, so I was like, they put me on this like gifted academic path. And a lot of times like I was one of two or the only black kid in my classes. And then it's like through that route, I'm a little bit of a nerd. And so I get around like football teammates and they're like, you know, everybody feels like they got to be macho. And I'm like the nerd that's got to go do homework, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, or my classes are in a completely different way. It's like, why are you nerdy? Why are you this? Why are you that? And it's like, I had friends growing up in my neighborhood who became my good friends. We just did all the same stuff together. Yeah. They were white, and so it's like, oh, you ain't black enough.
And that's some shit.
And as a kid, it's like, I wish I had like the adult version of me for them to be like, man, that's just them trying to find their own way and projecting that on you because you're interested in things. But I didn't have that. So I'm just like, oh, damn, I don't want to feel like this. So when I'm around these people, I'm gonna act like this. When I'm around them, I'm gonna be like this. When I'm in that room, I got to make sure I show up like this.
I hear that all the times from my friends who are biracial, mixed, however you want to describe it, because that is a label. It's like, it is a true label, and it's so unfortunate. How do you identify? If someone said to you, are you a black man, or would you like, I'm a mixed man? You know how Tiger Woods will say, well, I'm not 100% black. Do you feel like you have to identify with black and or white, or I don't know what you're mixed with?
I'm black. Like my dad's just like light skin. My mom's dark skin. So like I'm black. So I'm really like.
Fully, you're not mixed at all.
I got to do an ancestry kit or something.
Racist, Cari. I thought you were. I thought you were.
Nah. I mean, I got to do an ancestry kit. People all see walking to me like, what are you? Some people think I'm Dominican.
You got to do the kit.
Yeah.
We need the kit.
I ordered the kit recently, but and I put the saliva in it, but I think I left town and it's still on my counter months later.
But don't send them all your information because they're going to use that to AI you. Okay, no, seriously. That is because you look like everything is something else.
Right.
People tell you that your entire life.
Yeah, a lot of people still to this day.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm racist. I'll deal with that. So when did you start? When did you start playing football?
I was 4 years old. We had just moved to Georgia. We were in Colorado. We moved to Georgia because my dad got a job at Coke. And I guess they were just kind of like starting to throw me into things. In my first year of football, I was playing offensive line. I wish I think my mom still has a picture somewhere, but she put me out there with like this padding all over my body, like bicep pad, elbow pads, these leg pads.
Go out there, honey.
I'm just out there like playing offensive line, defensive line. But then the next year when I was 5, I started playing quarterback, and I played quarterback all the way up until high school. And I was just fascinated with like NFL films. I would binge watch it. And my parents would tell stories about like I'd be out there playing quarterback and the coach tells us to run a play and I'd be like, we can't run it this way because the way the defense is set up, we got to run like a counter back this way and stuff like that. So I was like, as a kid, like I was definitely gifted like intellectually. And so like football was where I devoted a lot of that to. And other sports, I played basketball and baseball, but football was like the first one.
That was so if you played other sports, obviously. And it's so funny when someone has a position of tight end, you immediately think, oh, they should be playing ball. You know, you immediately think that, in basketball rather.
Right.
When did you decide that football was going to be the path for you?
Well, the other sports kind of got eliminated. Going into high school, I think I was probably like doing too much playing baseball, like pitching and playing outfield. So I had like an elbow injury that I ended up hurting pretty bad my sophomore year of high school playing football. And And then I got kicked off the basketball team halfway through my junior year, right when I was getting good, which is like my first year was for varsity football was my junior year too. So
why'd you get kicked off?
I got arrested.
Okay, well, that could happen.
Right. But so then it was like,
can happen.
Then it was like, well, and I feel like I had like too much pride to go back the next year because they kicked me off and whatever.
That's interesting.
But then my junior year, I was like, I had a good year. Like I played defense. I had a whole bunch of tackles. And then I got my first couple scholarship offers at the end of my junior year. And I was like, oh, football it is.
Football it is. Yeah. So it eliminated and told you where you were going to go. I, of course, have to get to why were we arrested?
So there were these kids on my football team in high school, and they liked bashing people's car windows out with like a bat and like throwing Coke cans and rocks through people's house windows. And I was like, this kid trying to be cool and And so I was like, I'll drive us. And drove around, and we were in the neighborhood next to the neighborhood that I lived in. And then somebody was out walking their dog or something. Somebody got my license plate, or maybe I was just like parked in one spot, like a very amateur getaway driver.
Yeah. You weren't a good criminal.
And then like basically like I had to take the fall for everything. And so I had like, I was a first offender, but I had like felony damage to property and trespassing things. I was in court. Like,
you didn't rat out your people?
Nah.
You just took the L for them? Wow. That says a lot about you.
That's kind of like the culture though.
You just had to take the L. But did they have as much to lose as you had in terms of their upside? Did they play sports? Were they?
They were all on the football team. Okay, and these were all like all the dudes were talented in the car.
Did they go pro?
No, none of them did.
Okay, but so then you were like, yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
And then what happened in court?
They got reduced to misdemeanors, so I was like on probation for a bit and had to do like this diversion program and go take all these classes, and then I was fine after that.
Only reason why I ask, it's something about how old were you at the time? 15,
17.
16, 17. There is something about that age, because for me, I got arrested probably when I was 14 for shoplifting. And I don't know just to do it. I was bored. And I was hanging around a bunch of people who were doing it, and they were getting news. And I think to myself, I had 300 hours of community service. I spent my whole summer doing community service. And I was so embarrassed by that. But it's when you're bored, I think that's just a level of how smart we are, and we have nowhere to place all of this this energy that we have. Did you ever think of it that way?
Yeah, and there's at least for me, there's me being an addict, and like there's this addiction to high risk behaviors that has been a theme throughout my life. But like so stuff like that, like I was shoplifting, I was stealing a whole lot in college and doing all these things. But it's like I'm getting this like it
was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was a rush. It was like, if I can get away with it, let me do it again.
Right.
And again and again. When did you become 15, 17 years old? I think it said between 17 years old. I read that's when you first got arrested for drugs, or people found out you were doing drugs. When did you know you had a problem with drugs?
I don't think I ever thought I did. I always thought I was in control probably till I overdosed.
Really?
Right before.
When did you start taking drugs?
First thing was like painkillers my sophomore year of high school, 15 years old. Then started smoking weed. Then got introduced to Bud Light and Sky Vodka along the way as well. So it just kind of built up. And then by the time I hit to college, I was just like full-time partying, part-time athlete.
And you never thought you had a problem?
Nah, because I could always show up and be like respectful and look you in the eye, and my grades were always good, and and I'm playing football and I have all these things I can justify. Like I can't have a problem. I'm a Division I athlete. I'm at a great college. I'm yada yada yada, and so I could always hide behind that and just be like, yeah, I'm just in college having a good time.
Interesting. So you were like, I'm fine, I'm all set. They didn't. So when you there was no level where you, as you were in college, or even I know when you got to the pros, but they do drug tests.
So I got into the system of guys that on my college team that are like, if we go in this route, we got to be locked in. And so when they would drug test us, at the indoor facility, which we had to walk a good ways to practice. So every day of practice, it was like a 5-hour energy shot bottle of clean pee that I had in my girdle, and I'd put it over with my sneakers. So when the practice ended, there'd be a line for the drug tests. Your crotch would be hot from practice because your pee had to be a certain temperature in order for them to accept it. Otherwise, they'd be like, nah, this is... So I'd put it in my crotch, keep it warm, and there'd be a hole in the bottom of my girdle, and you can squeeze the pee out into the cup. So I was passing numerous tests.
How did you even come up with that plan? I'm really curious at the process to be like, so just so I won't get caught, this is what I should do.
I was just basically soaking in knowledge from like older guys on the team that I was rolling with were doing, and I just absorbed it like a sponge,
So it's a whole process.
Yeah, in order to, keep what I'm doing alive, because I'm willing to do whatever for me to keep doing what I'm doing. That's addiction.
Wow. That's fascinating. I feel like, God, that's so much trouble. I didn't feel like it was a lot of trouble to you back then.
Looking back, it was exhausting. I was anxious the whole time. It was exhausting. It's crazy. In the moment, you don't see it that way. You're just like, oh man, I gotta because when I do, get to where I want to get, it's the peace that comes from taking what I'm taking.
Right. So when you then, I'm fast forwarding, right? So you go through college, you're able to evade, whatever word you want to use, this system, because you are really intelligent. This is what I always think is interesting when people are breaking the law, doing something they shouldn't do, myself included. That's when you see how smart someone is. Because they're dumb criminals, right?
You want to hear something crazy?
Tell me.
So, so I almost didn't make it through college. It's like 3-strike thing. So I had 2 strikes and made it out. But there was one time where I think I had a little bit of clean time because I was just I had to lay low for just a little bit. And it was after a fall camp scrimmage on a Saturday morning. We had a piss test, and this was when they introduced a mouth swab. If they do a mouth swab, they can detect if you've used in the last 24 to 48 hours. And there was a dude on my team. He locked eyes with me. He's like, I'm about to fail. And so we swap mouth swabs. I give him my saliva, so he can pass the test.
You're like, I've been clean. So
yeah,
let
for a
me
little
help
bit,
you out.
I can help you today.
Yeah, I get you're look, I can do anything for you.
They're sending me to outpatient programs, and I'm getting tested weekly. So it was there's a little bit of spread in there where I was like, all right, I'm clean, but so I could help him that day.
That is crazy to me. So you're like, I'm the main one, but that tells me something. That tells me you were really talented. That tells me that they did everything to protect you because you were so talented. And you knew that, and they knew that you had a problem. Because if they're sending you to programs and they're trying to take care of you, whoever they is, who was the they?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, my college coach, Coach Johnson, he would always be like, anytime I come into his office, he's like, you tripping. But anytime they asked him in an interview, he'd be like, he playing on Sunday. And it's I didn't even believe I was going to play on Sunday.
Interesting.
It was just crazy.
Did that make you feel good about yourself, knowing how talented you were, that they would do by any means necessary to protect you?
I couldn't see it that way because I didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself.
How'd you see it?
Self-respect. It was just that's a compliment. You know how people are they're just so awkward when they receive compliments? It's they just cannot refuse it. They're just nah, I wasn't just, that was kind of me, silently. I just I don't even know how to receive this because I just don't feel good about myself on a day-to-day basis.
Did they ever try to do a mini intervention? Was there ever a time where someone said, you're so talented, you really gotta take care of yourself? A
lot of people said that. A lot of people at Georgia Tech, John Harbaugh repeatedly with the Ravens, Ozzie Newsome would say that. They come down in the cafeteria and they be like, what do you do? What do we gotta do? And I'm just I leave that day, get high.
What'd you say when they said that?
Just be I'm trying to stop, man. I'm trying to, I give people the runaround. That's,
so
yeah,
you knew,
professional at giving the runaround.
Oh, but you knew. You were telling them what they wanted to hear. But,
absolutely.
But you knew right away you get high when you leave.
1,000%.
Was that guilt?
Yeah, that shame weighs on you.
It's heavy,
It's heavy. It's exhausting. And then it's you're trying to go out on the field and think you're this undisciplined person in your personal life and having shame and not really a lot of confidence. I'm supposed to go out on the field and be this disciplined performer with confidence, loyal to my team. You gotta be that person in just without the pads on.
I'm listening to you tell this version of this story. Please drink as much water as you need to. And all I think as I'm hearing you say this is that people really cared about you. And really, really loved you and really wanted you to be your best at all times. Like you had a community of people fighting for you while you weren't fighting for yourself.
All the time.
And I know that probably makes you feel guilty, but I also would feel, I would like on the outside looking in, I'm like, oh, he's really special. I think it was more than just your talent. They really felt like you were special. Did you feel that?
Yeah, it was just hard to receive that level of love because I'm just like, you know, kind of like you talk about your therapist saying from when we were kids, like from as kids, I'm just like, I got to be doing something for people to love me. It's the truth that's in my mind.
Yep, same.
So it's like I'm doing all these things that I know people would think are crazy if they knew I was doing them. And so it's like, I'm a piece of shit in your mind kind of. And so it's like when people, it's hard for you to process. It's always like, if anybody was, what was really love, it was just like, get away from me and keep people at arm's length because they're trying to, the walls are closing in as opposed to me being able to see it as love.
That's nice. That's nice, meaning like it's nice for you to recognize what it is now. Yeah. On the outside looking in, that's nice. So then I could see Ozzy and Hard Rock coming to you saying, what's going on? You got to get it together. And you're not the only one. I don't want you to feel like, I hope I'm not making you feel like, why aren't you doing this? I understand that is a real issue because that's addictive behavior. And then you find yourself in a space where you, I guess, maybe failed too many drug tests and they suspend you for a year. And they're like, enough's enough.
Way too many.
Well, you're like, you have no idea. How many drug tests do you think you failed?
Well,
while you were in the league?
I mean, there was times like I'm getting a weekly FedEx envelope saying you tested positive for oxycodone, you tested positive for cocaine, you tested positive for marijuana, alcohol, like weekly. And then there was a point in time after my second season where I tore my labrum in my shoulder and I was just like, I'm just about to burn this all to the ground. And I was just failing every test on purpose. So I'd say 100, maybe, at least, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did it take for them to finally suspend you for a year? Did you have to rack up 200? What was it?
I mean, so if you just look at the scale, you got to rack up a lot of failed tests just to even be suspended for a game. Like you go through, first time you fail a test, they put you in the drug program. You're just in the program. There's no real consequences. Next test, you're docked 1 game's pay, but you still play. Then it's 2 games pay. Then it's 4 games pay, all before you even get to being suspended for a game. Then you're suspended 1 game, then 2 games, then 4 games, then 8 games. Then
you
get all the way out there. I was damn near playing for free my second year. I was damn near playing for free.
That's not funny.
Dudes on the practice squad were making more money than me my second year.
Oh, wow. That still didn't bother you?
Hook's too deep at that point. So, not making a lot of money.
Fascinating. It really is, because it just talks about how strong it can be. Whatever it is, whatever the vice is, whatever the addiction is, it doesn't have to be drugs. It could be a relationship. It could be shopping, like we talked about. Whatever it is, it could have such a hold on you that it doesn't matter what it is.
It doesn't.
So then you finally get to the point where they suspend you for a year, and you know that it's time, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel? Are you embarrassed? Are you ashamed?
Yeah, definitely ashamed. I remember I have a cousin. She lives in D.C. and she was a part of this this board of people that are like it's like a summer leadership council for these kids in D.C. that are trying to go whatever path they're trying to go. And they wanted me to come speak on it. I think it was like the day after I got suspended. I'm up there. I'm like, I'm a complete fraud.
Really? Did they
telling
know you
these
were
kids
suspended?
I don't think it hit yet, but I got the letter. And I was like, man, like I'm up here telling these kids a whole bunch of bullshit like that I'm not really living, so it's and then from there I was just like, I started using more. I mean, I'm popping pills, doing coke, drinking Grey Goose.
Like, we here. We gonna go all in.
I had to get stopped. People were like, when you decided to stop, I was like, it wasn't me deciding to stop. I got stopped. I got parked.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. What you said about being a fraud. I had just interviewed Elliot Connie, and he said the same thing about himself, but he was a fraud in a very different way. He said when he was playing baseball in college, he would see kids, dudes would come up to him, and one dude in particular, kind of nerdy, he was like, man, you got the life. You plan, you da-da-da. I just want to be you. And he was like, I'm such a fraud. My life is horrible.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
He was like, and so he was going to kill himself. And he was like, and he said it was just something that clicked that made him say, I don't think that people really understand why I'm so miserable. And if I kill myself, they're going to look at me like, what's wrong with you? What were you going through?
Right.
And for whatever reasons, he couldn't explain it. I feel that way about society in general. I when I meet somebody, I don't know if you feel this. When you meet somebody, can you tell they're a fraud? Can you tell that they're not who they say they are? Can you tell that they're pretending? And it doesn't have to be an addiction to drugs. It doesn't have to be anything. But can you look at someone knowing what you went through and say, oh, I don't know if that person's living their truth? Not that you care, but can you feel that?
Maybe not to that depth, but I can definitely feel like, man, something is like they're dealing with something. Like they're going through something that they're like, it looks like they're battling with. And so it's like when I was, I guess probably the thing that made me most fulfilled playing football, honestly, was like when we would be at practice and there'd be like young guys on the team and you could see like they may drop a pass or they may do something and it's like, it looked like they're just kind of like a kid that's on an island on their own feeling like, I just messed all this up. Yeah. It's like going over there and being like, hey, bro, like don't trip. Like,
why did that fulfill you?
Because I could just see myself back in my early career in times where it was just like, I'm suffering by myself. And like those little moments start to stack, it can start to snowball as far as your mental health is concerned. So I just go there and be like, just plant that seed, be like, hey, bro, like, you ain't got to stay in that. Like, there's no one thing that can ultimately define you. Because for me, it's like, if I was defined by past and mistakes, there's no hell hot enough for me.
Yeah, my equivalent would be pronouncing someone's name wrong. Yes, that happens often on air. Okay. Let's talk about the day, if you don't mind. The day you got parked. The way you put it.
Yeah. August 11th, 2017. I overdosed on, I was taking Percocet, and there were people in Baltimore at the time that were like, hey, like, be careful. They're pressing pills now. It could be fentanyl. Da, da, da. And so, but, you know, people are like, it can't happen to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm this athlete, yada, yada, yada. And at the time I would snort pills because like you get hit quicker, like because you take them orally like 20 minutes or so. I'm like, I need to feel that immediately. And then I pull up to the giant grocery store by my apartment and was like about to get out of the car, but then I was like, ooh, if I get out of this car, I'm gonna just plop on the ground, like it'll be a whole scene, like can't have that. So I just closed the door and just like sat back in my car, and it was just like somebody pulled the plug from behind the TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you're aware. You're aware? Are you like? Are
no,
you
it was just like I'm just like 1 second, then it was just like the TV, like the plug behind the TV got pulled, and I'm just like, and then I wake up and it's like nighttime.
And
like,
are you in the same space?
Mm-hmm.
What?
And I'm like cold and like it's like big, huge beads of sweat. Like you never think your beads of sweat would be that big. It was just like this whole like, and I was just like, yeah.
No one came to the car. No one knocked on the door. No one noticed you sleeping. You were just in the parking lot by yourself?
Yeah.
Then what?
I went home. My dad had landed. We were supposed to be moving out of my apartment the next day because I got suspended. I was moving back home with my parents. And I just, got it together and just started moving stuff out and just went home and never really told anybody. Until like I go through therapy and then you're like, oh, like I didn't just voluntarily take a nap that day,
So did someone have to tell you overdosed? You had no idea?
It was just like putting the pieces together. Like after a while, I was like, like that's what that was.
So you didn't know what that was?
Mm-mm.
And then you got on a plane and you packed up, you bet your dad, like no big deal, and kept doing your own thing.
I just thought I was like too high or just like.
Do you know how incredibly lucky you are?
Right.
And so blessed?
Right. Moral of the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But your whole life. So what do you do with this vacation that the NFL gives you?
I went to rehab in Maine.
What made you do that? Because you overdosed? Well,
so
that was I
didn't say anything coming out of it, but once I got home, it was just like I got a call from the Ravens doctors. They're like, "We're afraid for your life. We're still getting your toxicology results. It just keeps getting worse and worse." Like, and so they're like, "Once you see this addiction specialist in Georgia," and I went there, and the dude's like, "Yeah." I took this assessment, and they're like, "Yeah, you need to go to rehab immediately. Dual diagnosis, substance abuse, mental health." Everything, like, go.
And you're like, I'm out.
And I was just like, do I really need it?
Okay.
Still, but
because you're still denying it.
But then it's like, then after that, I was like, okay, like I'm open. And then my parents, kind of had a moment where there was like, you could tell like they wish they never had to have told me, but it was basically like, yeah, addiction kind of runs in this tree.
Oh, so it's all coming together.
So it's like, I didn't even really have a shot to not be like this.
Wow.
But then it's like a moment of like, oh, well, what are you going to do now?
So, wow. That's a lot. And any nervous laughter I have is because I am looking at you thinking, there's nothing that looks to me as I look at you that would show that you've been through that. Like your face, your joy, your laughter, your eyes, you still have life.
Right.
So your parents tell you that it runs in the family, and how do you respond to that?
I think I respond pretty positively.
Excuse my belly.
Just enough openness to go and be like, all right, like, let me see what they got. And then it was just like a game-changing experience.
Which means?
Getting in touch with like the first time, like I'm honest about how I'm really doing and how I'm really feeling. And it's just like, I instantly feel lighter. Like when I have somewhere to like put this mess that I just have fermenting on the inside of me.
Yes, I'm excited.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like then I started diving into like the one-on-one therapy and going to meetings and, you know, doing all those things. And it's just like, it was exactly what I needed. And I came home and kept going to meetings, got a job at Sprouts, and then eventually started.
What did you do at Sprouts? Wait, I need more than 5 minutes. Can I get 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at a grocery clerk. So I was just like making the shelves look nice. And if people wanted 8.6 pH water.
Wait a second. Did people know who you were while you were working at Sprouts?
I was not like a big, like maybe they did, but like I didn't really have anything.
Physically, you don't look like somebody.
Yeah, they were just like, yeah, can you get this off the top?
Yeah. Because they're like physically, this big person's work. You don't look like you should be working here.
So
like
even if they like, shouldn't you be on a field somewhere? I was like, it's a long story.
Hey, you're like, I'll tell you later. Talk to you soon. So during that year, you worked at Sprouts. You went to therapy. Life humbles you.
Very much.
In a very but the fact that you went and got a job says so much about you. Do you understand? Like I'm sitting here like happy for you because you did that. You didn't have to.
I appreciate that.
You didn't have to, or did you want to?
I needed structure, is what I realized. Like if I don't got structure, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So this dude that worked at assistant store manager at Sprouts went to church with my parents. He's like, "Oh, we got job openings." And I was like, all right. I thought I was going to go there and be like, oh, I'm a Georgia Tech graduate. I could be an assistant manager too. And it was like, oh, we need a grocery clerk. And I was like,
and you did it. And you did it. That makes me happy for you.
That's how God works. It's crazy.
He's such a good God. Then the suspension is wrapping up.
Right.
Talk to me about how you got back into the league. And then you did so well.
Yeah, it's just all crazy because I didn't even want to go back for real. But then I started training and I was realizing like, I don't really have anybody to measure this up against, but I feel like I'm getting pretty good. Or just like, you know, like building, and my skill set is improving. And I get back to, the Ravens, I get reinstated my first day of training camp. I'm out there cooking everybody. But then they drafted, Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst. So they're like, you know, they moved on because I mean, I never really showed anything that they could put trust in, you know? So I got cut and put on the practice squad. And I was on the practice squad for like 10, 11 weeks. And then they played the Raiders one Sunday. And just out there doing my pregame routine, me and this other receiver on the team, we'd run and throw extra routes with RG3 would throw to us. And so that day I just do that and come in the locker room and put my sweats on, watch the game, go home. The next morning, my agent's like, you got signed by the Oakland Raiders. You're going to Oakland. Your flight's at like noon. Pack your shit.
I'm out.
So I was like, yeah, I could use a new scene. Because, you know, they were used to me being
They're tired of your shit.
Yeah, but they were like, oh, we're proud of you and how you're developing. Like, if somebody gets hurt, we'll give you a shot. And I'm just like, I need a new scene where people kind of like they're excited. They're like, we want you here. Yeah. Whereas the Ravens
you want to always be in a relationship where they want you.
Yeah, it was just a different level. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, sorry, coach, I'm gone. And went to the Raiders and first couple games I played special teams, and there was a week we played the Bengals. They had a couple plays in me for offense, and touched the ball twice in the game. The first one, I took a jet sweep for like 25 yards, and the other one, I caught a pass for like 40-something yards, and I was like, I'm back. Yeah, this is like you can't even script this shit. Like,
yeah. And you were getting, I remember covering you, and you were getting, we always talk about how great you were, and your story was so inspirational. Was that, to me, and I always thought to myself on the outside looking in, when everyone would, have these, what we call packages about you and what you had been able to accomplish, I thought that felt like pressure, maybe undue pressure. Did you like the attention that you were receiving, and the way the narrative has flipped from, he had this problem, but now he's back and he's bigger than ever and he's great and this is an inspirational story, and was that any pressure for you?
It all happened really fast. I went from working at Sprouts to second best player in my position, like right on Travis Kelce's heels, and signing a big contract in less than a year and a half.
Yep.
So it all happened fast. And I was not used to I was not the star at every level. Like, I was in high school, I was like the third highest recruited player on my team. There was coaches that would come for 2 other guys and leave. They wouldn't talk to me. In college, I was one of the lowest rated recruits in the class. I don't think I had 1,000 yards receiving my entire 4 years combined in college. It was like 900 something yards. Like, that's not eye-popping to anyone. My first few years in the league, I was just playing special teams. So it's like, I was never like in that role of like, he's the da-da-da-da-da-da. So it was very strange to deal with. And it's like...
Did you like it? Did you love it? How did it feel to you outside of strange?
I liked it. I feel like it was like another high. Like, I wasn't doing drugs and alcohol anymore, but the highs that came from that, the highs that came from relationships with women, access to that, and just the plays on the field.
Yeah.
The high, like literally like the endorphins and the highs you get from making those plays, it was just like, that was like, those made me feel good. But then it's like, those are all temporary,
Yeah.
So it's like, I come down and I'm like, I'm still the guy that's like, I'm good at football, but like, I'm not dying. I'm not willing to die for this shit. Like, everybody's like, we eat, sleep, breathe. Like, that was just never me. And I always feel like I had to hide that. And just
still yet another thing. You get to the top of one mountain and then you got to climb another.
Exactly.
In your mind, it's always the way. How do you stay sober?
Yeah, sobriety is like a whole different thing for me now, because I feel like drugs and alcohol for a while was like, oh, this is victory, like I've won. But it was just like, that was just like the entry level for me, because it's really, if you're dealing with drugs and alcohol, you're not really dealing with the root, you're dealing with the symptom. So it's like, there's a reason why I started to use drugs and alcohol. So if you take those away, I still got to deal with what put me in that place, which I don't feel like I ever really did. It's like the success happened so fast. I'm just like, oh, my life's great. Like, I'm good. I'm this person people think is like this beacon of hope for recovery and turn my life around. What could go wrong? And it's really just like, now I'm learning, like, through all those years, through all the like relationships and the addictive patterns in relationships, is like, sobriety is more so to do with like an emotional level than it is like what I may be using. Like, the behavior can always change. So it's just like, it's a whole new journey now.
Sobriety is there this, I don't know. So I'm asking you, is there a constant, because I fight an urge of taking a pill or doing, having some, whatever it is. I don't do drugs. I'm so corny. Taking cocaine, whatever it may be. Is there a constant urge to not do that, or put yourself in rooms where that is happening, or in positions or places where people are doing that around you?
At this position in my recovery, no, it's not drugs or alcohol. It's more so from the emotional place of like, I need to do some behavior to not deal with the discomfort that I feel on some level. Like, so that behavior could be shopping, it could be a relationship, it could be whatever. And it's like, so it's not like I'm trying not to use drugs or alcohol today. It's like, how do I learn to sit with the discomfort of my feelings and like take the contrary action to what I want to take, to be able to regulate myself and to be able to, be the person that God wants me to be, as opposed to like still being this person that needs to get a fix from something to feel better. That makes sense.
That's so heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy. You're like, yeah, you want my water? I have two more questions. I don't understand it, but I empathize with it. But I think everybody has their own emotional struggle. And I think that I honestly believe God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, so that you can use your platform to encourage everybody. you then get married, and then you get a divorce very publicly, a public marriage, a public divorce. Was there any time during that transition where you felt like I can't deal and I need to cope? I need to do old school coping mechanisms?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. 100%. Like, cause that's tough. Like, and for me, like, that's where the patterns of the addictive patterns being in relationships, went all the way up until being with her. And so it's like realizing now that it's like my definition of love needs to be like completely retooled and dug up and have a new foundation, because what's love to me is really just like an emotional high. And so it's like when the emotional highs, a therapist that I work with, she was like, this is not to take a shot, but it's like the relationships that you've been in your past is like people are dopamine vending machines. And when they don't have any more soda left in the vending machine, you go to a different vending machine to find a Sprite. And so it's just like
deep.
Mike Tyson gut punch.
So
it's like, and it's like sitting with the fact that it's like, looking back, it's like, man, like this addictive pattern of just coming in and out of people's lives and things almost feeling like a blur when you look back on these relationships. So it's just like, that's the crux of the work now. It's just like,
what you describe isn't foreign. I think men and women do that.
Oh, I see it all the time now. I hear it in the songs on the radio. I see it in the movies we watch. I see it through a completely different lens now. And it's just like, it almost makes me appreciate, it's just like developing a new definition of what intimacy is, because it's not sex. It's not, those things that we think it is. It's just like allowing yourself to be in front of another person, guards down, like, and
that's the hardest thing.
I've never been able to do that.
That's the hardest thing.
I'm running for the hills.
Yeah. Don't ask me to show you who I am. How dare you? How fucking dare you ask me to reveal who I am vulnerably? Get
Facts.
the fuck out of here. Excuse my French.
Facts.
When you realize that in this relationship that you were in, when the high was gone, you were like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
What does that look like when the high is gone? And here's the reason why I ask, because your relationship was touted so publicly and it was so beautiful and everyone thought it was what they wanted. You know how people are.
Right.
And it probably was what you wanted, right?
Right. It was, yeah.
When does it turn? When do you realize I'm not getting this high that I need to be here? What does that look like in your life?
It's a combination of things. Starting with, getting traded, I think, day getting back from honeymoon, and then being cross country by myself most of the time, and no network of friends, not really going to meetings, relationship with God and faith kind of dwindling, and so putting me back into that state of like seeking a high. And then gets to the point where she comes out there, and she's in a new environment, has no network of people out there. This is a new chapter in her life, and me being the person, like, I was supposed to be like that stable, support for her to be like, okay, like this is, we're going to get through this season, where it's just like, I'm like, this ain't the high that I'm used to, and just literally like vanishing.
Yeah. You find yourself in a lot of ups and downs, really, really big highs, and then really, really low lows.
Extremes. There's never
a middle ground for you.
Never has
been.
Have
you ever in your life remember a time where it's been middle ground?
Nah, it's starting to be formed now, putting some new cement on the ground now. But yeah, never before this year as it's built.
You go to a new team, you play for the Giants for a bit, and you decide you get sick. Help me know the process that led you to retirement.
That was wicked. So we played the Buffalo Bills last year, week 6, and I just had this moment. We're running, I think it's like first quarter, second quarter. We're running this running play, and I'm like leading through the hole. I'm a fullback damn near, but this play is very effective. Like it's probably the best blocking game I've ever had. Like it was blowing the coach's mind. They were like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't know. But in the first quarter, I'm just looking at the moon. I don't know. And I'm just like, the fuck am I doing? Like, Like literally, I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm gonna finish this year and give them all that I got. Like I try to have those kind of morals, but like I'm not here because I want to be here, and I'm saying yes, this is where I want to be in my life. And I think like the next week I had like 100 yards and a touchdown, and people were like, yeah, he's back. Like, we're about to get on the roll. And one of my teammates that I told I was gonna be done, I was like, I came off the sideline after I scored a touchdown. I doubted him. I was like, I'm still done. And yeah, but then it was I got hurt against the Jets end of October. The following Monday, I was shooting a video with A-Rod because I stayed back. I was hurt. Got back to my condo. Long story short, I think I had COVID, coming down with this fever. And I'm like, fuck, I got it again. Like, gotta just sweat it out through the night. But then I couldn't breathe. I came down with like this viral infection of my lungs. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm losing consciousness. So I'm like trying to call 911. And they're saying they can't understand me. But then I finally get them my address clear enough. And I get up out of my bedroom, cut the lights on, stumbled in, propped a shoe in the door so the paramedics could just swing the door open, and sat on the couch. And I was just like breathing, fighting for my life. And in between, I would take breaths. I would yell help to try to wake up my neighbors. And then I was like, damn, I'm about to die here on this couch. And I don't really like the way that I'm going out. And so the paramedic and the cop got there just as I was like really starting to fade. And then I'm just sitting in the hospital for 3.5 days. I need help pissing, need help shitting, need help eating. And I'm just like, yeah, this ain't the life, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I've given a lot to the game, and I just feel like my mission is accomplished here. And I feel like God had to do a lot to show me that. And for me to be like, okay, and to step out of my comfort zone, because the worst thing I want to do is look crazy to other people and step out and say, this is what I'm doing. And lo and behold, God's like, oh yeah, we about to hit him with the triple whammy at the beginning of the year. So yeah, very intense year.
How many lives do you have?
I'm pushing cats to the limits. Like I got a few.
More than 9.
Yeah.
I'm listening. You more than 9
for sure.
I feel like your purpose is bigger than you even know.
Yeah, I have no idea. At this very moment, I have no idea. Some days I'm like, I think I know where I'm headed. Like, I feel like and then it's like some days where I'm like yesterday, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing out here. But I know like the decisions that I made are supposed to have me in this season of me kind of abandoning everything that I think I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm rooting for you.
Appreciate that. I feel it.
You feel it.
I appreciate it.
You're good egg. Darren Waller, thank you for being on Naked. You were really naked. Like,
oh, yeah.
Truly naked. Like, you came to play. He don't have no clothes on.
I know the rules. I know what time it is.
Okay, I know you got to get out of here. Thank you so much for
awesome.
doing this.
Yeah.
No, it was awesome. You inspire me. It's inspiring. I think if there's one thing I will say, I hope you can replace whatever shame it is you have with inspiration, because your origin story and the arc, the ups and the downs are so familiar. Everyone has it. They're just not as honest about it.
Yeah.
And when you talk about it, it inspires me. And just let me know God is good.
Man.
Amen.
Talk about it.
Okay, we're good.